It's time for the March 2024 Sheetload of Cards from Call Me Crafty Al. Hey guys, it's Beth. Welcome. It is the beginning of a new month, which means it's time for a new Sheetload of Cards sketch from Call Me Crafty Al. She puts out a new sketch every month. It gives you the supply list and cut list that you need to make a whole batch of cards. It's really amazing. I'll tell you more about that here in just a minute, but I did want to note before I jump into my process that I cut the first sheet, the first 12 by 12 sheet that Alicia calls for, based on her cut guide here. Then I decided that I might want to use the scraps differently. I would rather have some bigger scraps to play with later on when I'm finishing off this collection. And so I changed how I cut it so that I did 3 4x4 squares out of the top row, a 4x4 square out of the second row, and then my 4 little strips here out of this row. And that left me with a big enough section that I could actually make 2 extra cards. So I did the new cutting way on 2 sheets, 2 out of the 3 sheets, and so I was able to make 2 extra cards. And I'm sorry, I wish I would have filmed that, but I didn't really think that it was going to turn out that way. So sometimes it's like happy accidents. But let's go ahead and get into the fun part of the card making, and I will tell you a little bit more about today's collaboration. So I'm using the Let's Be Mermaids collection. I started this with the sheet load for February, and I'm still trying to work through it, so I decided to make another sheet load for cards for cubs. I have all my pieces cut and ready to go. I just need to assemble everything. So I am starting with the rectangle element where the sentiment's going to go, and I'm just kind of working through each pattern first and putting it on my green cardstock, which is my mat. And then I will add my sentiment, and I did 2 different sentiments. This first one, which I will show you here in a second, it says, "Have a turtly awesome birthday," and it is from the Sunny Studios Turtly Awesome stamp set. And then the second sentiment, which I will also show you when I get there, just says, "You're turtly awesome." Thought those would be fun for the cards for cubs. Again, this is a collaboration, so there is a playlist linked in the description box below for you that you can go and check out all of the other collaborators who are showing you how they have used the sheet load for this month. And also in the description box is a link for Alicia's video where she shows you how you can get this month's sheet load as well. So I just kind of tackle this assembly line style. I put all of my pattern papers on that green cardstock, and then I added all of my sentiments, and I just tried to rotate the sentiments. I did like 2 per pattern, and now I'm going to go ahead and work on the 2 pieces that create kind of the card mat. And for me, it worked better to put the 2 pieces on kind of at the same time. I would kind of butt them up together before I laid them down, and could still kind of move it around a little bit to figure out, get it centered on the card base, and then kind of adhere it down, push it down. So once I got all of my pieces on, I'm going to go ahead and adhere the focal points onto each of the cards. Oh no, wait. First, I decided I wanted to cover up. I wasn't able to completely butt up the 2 pieces on all the cards. And so I thought I would cover up the seam where they meet with some vinyl strips that I had cut using some scrap vinyl a while back. And so I start out using some scraps, and so you see me kind of slice them, and then I just piece them on the top and the bottom and leave it open where that focal rectangle is going to go. And then on some of the other ones, once I use up the shorter scraps, I just go ahead and cover the whole seam. So on this one, you'll see I'll use a full strip, and they're pretty much about 12 by 12. Because I used a 12 by 12 sheet of vinyl whenever I was cutting, and just used the scrap part. And then I use my finger blade to trim it off there at the bottom. So now that I have all of my seams covered, I kind of sort them so that I know what card base is going to go with what patterned paper rectangle, I guess. And then again, assembly line style, I just go ahead and add adhesive to all the backs of the rectangles and then get those applied down. And I will continue that for the other 12. And that I just finished the first 12. So these are the extra pieces that I was able to cut based on how I cut my 12 by 12 pattern paper. And had I thought about it, I would have done it on the first one too, and I could have gotten 3 extra cards, but I'll take the 2. And so I am kind of doing them the same way. I just start on that rectangle, which is the focal point, and then I will work on the pieces that go as my card mat next, and I will put those on together. Every time I say happy accident, which is what this was, I always have to think of Bob Ross and his happy little trees, because, you know, there's never an accident. You have happy little trees. So putting my vinyl strips on here, and I got the idea for these strips, obviously, from the Love from Lizzie strips that the Love from Lizzie sells. And I just, like I said, use some scrap vinyl, trying to use it up and cut some strips in some different colors, and I'm trying to use up some of those white strips that I have. Now I will add my rectangle onto my card mat, and I had decided that that yellow pattern, especially on this one where the yellow is the biggest part of the card mat, needed something else. So for this collection, I had pulled out some sequins and some enamel dots that I thought worked. And so there were some green ones that matched with the green of my cardstock that I used behind that rectangle. So, but I only had enough for like one card with that. So I used those. And then I pulled in some white vinyl circles. And again, these are just circles that I had cut from some scrap vinyl. And I really just apply it to wherever the yellow cardstock is. So I get through these first 4, and when I'm doing this next set where the yellow is that focal rectangle, I decided that it needed more than just the white circles. And so I had also pulled out some pink circles with this collection. I didn't like the pink with this particular, with the patterns I had chosen. And so I just decided to take some of that scrap green cardstock that I had left over after cutting down the rectangles for the center there. And then the stamp set had some turtles. And so I stamped the turtles, one of the turtles, onto the cardstock and then just fussy cut them all out. And I decided to add these to the ones where the yellow was that rectangle where the sentiment goes, and I thought that worked a little bit better than just using the enamel dots. It just, I don't know, the yellow just seemed, I pulled in the yellow because it was kind of a solid, and I felt like I needed a solid to kind of balance out the 2 different patterns that I had going on, but then it also was a little bit plain. I mean, I know you're supposed to have white space, or in this case it's yellow space, but I don't know, it just didn't feel balanced to me. It just felt empty. So that's why I decided to bring in the vinyl dots, and you'll see me struggle trying to get some of them off the little backer sheet. But so I will finish off my last 4 with some of these vinyl circles. And these are nice because they are like enamel dots, but they're flat. So if you're mailing a card, these kind of work really well. So if you have a vinyl cutter, you know, like any kind of electronic die cut machine that can also cut vinyl, and you have some scraps, these are a great way to use up some of those smaller scraps anyway. So again, you see me struggle And it's really because I didn't feel like taking off, like in between each of the circles, there's like some little filler, almost like starburst things. Had I taken those off, I probably could have gotten the circles off a little bit better, but I was a little bit lazy this day, so we all have lazy days, right? Tell me I'm not the only one that has lazy days. Where I want to be creative, but I just want to be creative. I don't want to have to work so hard for it. But then I ended up working hard for it anyway, right? So we will finish off this last card. And then I will show you the rest. I will show you all 14 cards that I was able to make using the Sheetload of Cards sketch. I got 5 of 2 of the patterns and then 4 of 1 of the patterns, and that just happened to be that first page that I cut. Again, the playlist for all of the collaboration participants will be in the description box below, and then the link for Call Me Crafty Owl's Sheetload and her videos will be in the description box below. So please be sure to check those out, and I hope you enjoyed this month's Sheetload. Thank you so much for your time today, and I hope you all have a very crafty day.